All right, so here we are, another episode of the Sore Losers Show. I'm here today with my guest. You might know him as It's a Pirate Life on Instagram. His name is Cameron Markin. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good to be here. Thanks.
Hey, glad to have you. Giving up some time today to answer a few questions. My primary thing, I think we should cover D.I.Y.
Cool.
Because you, as far as I'm concerned, are the king of D.I.Y. in Australia.
I won't take that label, but thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's true. How did you start getting involved in D.I.Y.?
Just originally through shooting photos. I was always pretty adjacent to it. Growing up on the northern beaches for a while, and then there was a push with developing portside DIY back then.
Yeah.
So I was not barely involved with that, honestly, but just more on the peripheries. That was like my original introduction to it.
Sure. Yeah.
And then from then, always just enjoyed skating it for years. But there was that disconnect where I enjoyed skating it, but then didn't have that knowledge of like, you could just go do this yourself.
Yeah.
One day I saw that a few of the, there's those groups that do like the volunteer DIY movement internationally.
Yep.
There's Wonders Around the World, there's Concrete Jungle Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw Wonders Around the World were doing a build, Jamaica's first concrete skate park.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, down in Boston Bay in Jamaica. So I hit him up and I asked like what you need to do to get involved. Basically told him I had absolutely no experience, and they said if you can get yourself there, then food and board was covered.
Yeah, right.
And we all slept in this big community centre, and this English bloke Rob showed me how to make concrete coping on the first day with a trowel on a table.
Yeah, right.
I had the setup already, a little jig and a trowel ready to go. And so for like a whole month straight, I made concrete coping. Woke up at 6 a.m, would pour some blocks and then strip the table by midday and then do another run. So we could line this whole skate park with concrete coping, and then that was my first intro.
Well, that's a good way to learn.
Yeah,
really.
it was.
Anytime you do something for a month straight.
Yeah, and then I think just being in that DIY environment, everyone is so keen for you to learn. There's no gatekeeping, no one's guarded about their information, because the quicker you progress, the more helpful you are to the overall team.
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah, it was just a perfect environment, I think, to get into it.
Yeah.
And just came back addicted.
Well, it sounds like it. And then up and up and up and up.
Yeah, that was it. Started building a concrete mini ramp in Mum's backyard because she let me.
Well, yeah, if you got permission, it's always better, because I guess the risk isn't there that, someone's going to come along, not be happy with it and tear it out.
Yeah, that's hand in hand. You just accept that now.
Well, I think that's my perspective anyway, is that, skating, everything's disposable. You set up a board and your intention is that will eventually just be useless to you and thrown out, or passed on to someone like who would ride it, or I
suppose it can be like
wheels wear out, trucks wear out, everything wears out and becomes disposable at some stage, you know. So that shiny thing on the shelf in the skate shop is designed for you to make it not shiny anymore and fall apart. But how many spots, how many DIY spots do you reckon you've done over the years?
Well, like an actual number?
Like roughly, yeah.
All right, give me a minute. And then there was probably like not like a crazy, maybe like between 15, 20-ish.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, is that including like throwing up a little quarter pipe somewhere, or
Anytime a bit of concrete's involved.
yeah.
So even the little ones for sure.
Well, I actually thought it'd be more than that, because I'm really used to seeing you, you know, with a trowel in your hand, somewhere you're not supposed to.
I mean, maybe it is, and honestly, my memory is just betraying me at the moment.
Yeah.
Because, there has been a lot, but then also it hasn't been going on for that long either, I suppose. I went to Jamaica, it was 2 years before COVID, because the year after I went to Tanzania and did another one in 2019.
Yeah, right.
So I only really started touching concrete in 2018, so it's been like... Is that 4 years now? 5 years?
And that led into a bit of work for skate park companies as well, kind of thing, like after, you know.
Yeah, skate park company light, like here and there.
Yeah.
Real casual.
Get handy with the trowel and,
Get paid a little here and there. Yeah, for sure.
What about, what stands out for you? What was the favorite or like... The one spot within Australia that you've done that you just get the best feeling about having worked on?
I mean, it's for sure got to be Portside, just because that really was like a big community push.
Yeah.
We couldn't have just done that with even 3-4 people. That took a lot of people coming together with resources, time.
Yeah.
And like being up there, me and Dylan for like 6 weeks straight, I think it was, and just seeing everyone come and go every day. That was pretty beautiful for sure.
Yeah.
And then obviously riding at the end is something else, but just that whole build was special.
Yeah. I think
even Poor Day, like that was special.
Poor Day was. I was there. I had a little bit of fun there. That was definitely a fun day, and it was such an odd experience. I mean, I'm used to sort of. Working for Revolution and stuff and building stuff. I'm pretty...
You're no stranger to D.I.Y. though.
Well, no. I mean, I've done a couple of projects here and there.
Yeah.
Built a mini ramp in my old English classroom at my high school got shut down.
What, Vaucluse? Was that you?
Yeah.
You built that mini?
Yeah, me, myself, Nick, and Andreas, actually, all those years ago.
So sick.
Yeah, so that was probably about, I think it would have been like a month straight of mostly Nick and I walking around that school and sourcing materials.
Nick who?
Nick Tokic.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'd just walk around and just be like, if we could put a hammer through a wall and pull out
studs.
Yeah, pull out studs or find a stash of...
What did you sheet it with?
So we found, I think we pulled, so the cork, not cork boards, the, you have like a notice board and it's got a soft furry outside that you pin stuff to.
Yeah.
So underneath that was, I think it might have been 9mm.
Yeah.
So we used that.
And you found enough of that?
We found exactly enough to... We didn't... The only expense we had was screws and...
Coping?
And glue. Coping with some street signs.
Perfect.
Yeah. So... And then on top of that plywood, we glued down the Masonite old chalkboards. So we went around stripping all the chalkboards out of the classrooms and
Were they green?
They were green, yeah.
With the green side facing up?
Yeah.
That's so sick.
Yeah. That was the first kind of thing we did. So that obviously all with timber. We only paid for screws. Like it was a really kind of cheap one to do.
Good introduction. That's nice.
Yeah. And I think we got... So the first night, Nick being a Sparky by trade, turned the power back on for us. So we had like we had like the cutting room
Yeah.
was right next door where we cut everything to size.
With what, wired tools or just battery charges?
Wired tools.
That's a treat.
The coping was welded. Yeah, on little L brackets.
Yeah. Wow, that's so legit.
Yeah.
Was that the first timber ramp you'd built?
No. Always built stuff.
Okay.
It started when I think I was 11 or something like that.
True, that early.
Just building jump ramps,
Yeah.
and not knowing what you're doing.
Starting with a piece of ply on a cinder block.
You're just figuring it out, like going, like you watch a video and there'd be like a street comp or a jump ramp section in a video in the 80s.
Yeah.
And you just go, I want to build something like that. So you go around the neighborhood. There's always a construction site here. Sorry to anybody that,
Suffered.
lost a little bit of plywood.
It's for the greater good.
Yeah, that's it. And then we'd take real estate signs, which used to be made of, there was like 4 real estate agents in a row in one street.
Yeah.
And out the back, they had a back lane behind, and they'd store all their for sale or for lease signs out there, which were happened to be made of masonite.
Perfect.
So yeah, a lot of
How did you figure out the shape of your radius?
hand drawn.
What do you mean?
Hand drawn. Just like literally with the texture
Yeah.
on a piece of plywood.
Did you try and have like your arms straight so it like continue to, or no, literally?
No, just like that looks pretty good. Like you'd stand it up and look at it against the wall or something, and go, yeah, that looks right.
Yeah. And then jigsaw back then?
Jigsaw. There was an old guy who lived. There was like a drainage canal from my mate's back lane where we built everything, and across the drainage canal was someone's backyard. This old guy that used to lend us his jigsaw, and so that was introduction to using, first of all, power tools.
Yeah.
And building stuff, But the thing with that is they fell apart so quickly.
Yeah,
like
first skate.
They'd last, literally the weekend.
Yeah.
And then, would have to rebuild.
That's the learning experience though, and then the next one's better, and then...
No, they were never better.
Then what happened between there and Vaucluse?
A lot.
Surely some progression at some point.
Oh yeah, look, you learn not to use nails. Use screws instead.
You can afford them.
Like that one that we did in that classroom, that mini ramp, was so sturdy that when they discovered it and they tried, because we glued not only did we screw the masonite down, but we also glued it.
Yeah.
So it was glued down to the ply. I believe the plywood was then also glued down.
Onto the structure?
The beams. Yeah. And so it was really sturdy. When they tried to pull it apart, it looked like they tried to get a pinch bar or something to rip the surface off of it. And it, like, they took a chunk like this out of the edge of it and just couldn't get any further and kind of gave up. But yeah, that thing didn't last as long as it took to build.
Oh, really?
I think it was around for about 6 weeks, and we were around for about, from when we decided to do it, probably about a couple of months.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah. And then I think the next thing we did was a pool at St. Ives.
Reshaped it?
Yeah.
You had a few international visitors at that one.
Yeah, that was a good one. A lot of people came out to. It was around. Bolarama was in full swing.
Yeah.
And Dean Turcott, it was pretty much his project, to be honest. He was like, he said, well, because the shape of the pool was really cool and it had like a love seat in the middle, like so along
the main thing is just being able to get away with it. Like, regardless of
we-
the shape or anything.
We got lucky.
Yeah.
That was pure luck. It was that place was always going to get torn down, but the surrounding properties were also empty for the same development. There's I think there's 2 apartment blocks there with like a courtyard kind of thing in the middle there now, but having an empty property next door behind it and on the other side, it was perfect.
Who do you think skated it the best, or was your favorite, most powerful?
And a lot of different people for a lot of different reasons. Rune skated it really well, but I have to say, I think the person that skated it the best was James McGuinness. He just local guy, New Zealand guy, but he found lines in that thing that nobody, and he did a lot of firsts in there, and
Sick.
so he did a blunt to fakie inside the death box. So
that's so sick.
inside the death box.
Couldn't do that with the Ace 80s.
No, you wouldn't fit. No, but yeah, you could go over the death box in a different way. Maybe do like a rock to fakie kind of thing. But yeah, I think definitely that was a fun project to do too.
Is there footage around of people skating that pool?
Yeah, there's a Dean made a like a documentary style thing of it, and the first half of that is basically it goes through the construction process, and you can see how much we have no idea what we're doing.
Amazing.
You know, like
Any steel in the concrete?
no. We tried chicken wire at first.
And it just kept like coming up and flexing up.
Yeah, we couldn't get it to sit right. But the one thing we did do was put a groove in the surface, like chipped out a groove.
Your toe line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So toe line and then up the top as well. So that's one thing we definitely got right. But everything else was, all wrong.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time we were putting
What, did you have anything in the way of formwork?
bricks.
Yep. And then
So, basically, no formwork. We had fill.
side by side and screed up?
We didn't really screed it.
Yeah, okay.
It was kind of freehand.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so we had a piece of plywood cut and one piece that was our transition that we wanted throughout.
Yeah.
And then we just throw mud at it
Yeah.
and shape it and then put that in place. And
Oh, sick. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
That's about right.
Yeah.
So,
Perfect. No, that's sick.
yeah. And then, so if you check out Sydney Pool Services on YouTube, there's you can see a bit of that shit if anybody's interested.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, that lasted a lot longer than I think any of us expected it to.
How long was it around for?
Must have been close to a year.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. But then finally, I think the developers got the shits and they were pulling some trees out from the property and decided to put this. They pulled out like the root system, the root bulb of like a massive tree and just dumped it in the middle of the pool. So
That's a direct message, isn't it?
yeah, it was like, you guys, your time's up.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty generous. In Sydney especially, a whole year. That's unheard of.
Yeah. Like I said, we got really lucky with that place. But my understanding is also that those places were empty for a full year beforehand. So it could have been up to 2 years. But yeah. What was I going to ask you about? What's the driving force behind the DIY? Like, it's a lot of commitment to put into something, like we said before, that, might not be there for
Probably won't be.
all too long. So, what's your drive behind it? Just to have somewhere unique, or
Yeah, it started with pretty selfish intent of just there's nothing that I want to skate, or this is something specific that I want to skate. I can visualize it, or there's a spot for it, and no one else has done it. So yeah, that was it. That's how it started. And then once I did, and then just seeing how much people enjoyed it and what a wide variety did, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear about the Philly Up DIY that we had going?
No.
That was like at the end of a street right near my house in Sydenham. We had these 2 little quarter pipes that formed a channel and then a few other little pieces, and it was right at this food truck.
Okay.
But you'd go by on any given Sunday. It's actually where I met Seth. Were you not with him that day?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Did you ever see Seth skating that DIY?
I don't think I did.
I'll show you after anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just sick. Like I met Seth there for the first time ever, and he was like with his kids and maybe even his missus and stuff, just getting a feed and having a skate. Mm-hmm. And you'd see that all the time. I thought it was like, I don't know, it was affirming that as much as you're made to feel like what you're doing is illegal, in reality, it's just a community service. It's appreciated by all, and it's just the red tape and the bullshit that makes it feel illegal.
Yeah, that's it. I think, generally speaking,
I think if to circle back, like the main reason is just like that got me into it was like, why not? Because once I saw how possible it is, the only thing stopping you is the fact that it's going to go, which is like more of a money thing than frustration. And then the fear that something might happen when you're doing it. But so far, nothing.
I've never been busted either, because like, you know, when you discover that using a rub brick on a curb is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And if you just use a cup wheel on your angle grinder, it's a lot easier.
A lot of dust.
Aside from the dust does tend to attract a bit of attention.
Cops just pulling up as you're doing it.
Yeah, I actually had that happen. I had that happen. But they didn't say anything.
Yeah.
That's
it. Because like,
I think it was from all I can figure is it was more trouble to them to pull me. What am I doing? I'm grinding back a bit of concrete just to make it smooth. It's not.
You almost want
vandalism.
You almost want like a cheap ticket just to have that, like a ticket from a cop.
I've never been busted. I've never been busted doing. Yeah, we got. Actually, to backtrack to that pool at St. Ives, because there was a lot of construction going on around there, people had already started construction. Okay, actually, first story, surveyors came in while we were working.
For redevelopment of the building.
Yeah, so the surveyors came in, and I was wearing a high-vis vest every day that I was in there, and then the surveyors came in, and they're like, oh, there's already people working here. And I'm like, I think everybody went and hid in the house.
And it was just you?
And it was, I was like, I'm just going to go talk to them.
Yeah.
Because at some stage, they're going to spot one of us, you know. They can.
Were you mid-construction at that point?
I think, yeah, we were.
Okay.
So I just went out and spoke to them. Oh, hey, guys, how are you? Doing some surveying today? They're like, yeah. How do we get? Do you know how we get to the back property here? I'm like, yeah. There's only a hole in the fence, but I'll show you how. And like, so gave them the walkthrough.
Yeah.
And actually got some info off them, going.
Oh, like when timelines and such.
Yeah. So they were like, oh, we're not too sure. You know, we're just doing this, but I'd imagine, you know, 8 months time, 10 months time, that sort of thing. And then another occasion, we were actually mixing concrete, and someone had turned the hose off from the front yard where we were running the hose.
Yeah.
Then the gate opens, and there's a legit construction dude from the site next door saying, oh, sorry guys, I didn't realize you were working in here. I thought it was just kids, you know, the
fucking with the tap.
Yeah, fucking with the tap or something. I'll turn that back on for you. Sorry, guys. Sorry. And just walked out and just like, well, that was fucking close. Because guaranteed the construction company he was working for did the construction there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, yeah, because it was on the...
They just hadn't started on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the owners?
No. It was so long empty that, just really lucky with that one. What's the shortest one you've done? What like a little quarter that...
Micro DIY?
Yeah.
There's in Alexandria, near Sydney Park.
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember the name of the street, but there's a bridge that crosses a canal.
Okay.
And so the railing that stops you going off into this bridge, into this canal, has jersey barriers at the end of it that taper down, but not all the way. They finish, it's like escalator jersey barrier that finishes maybe that high.
Okay.
So then I just put in a little triangle, and now people have gone up it and then grinded the rail.
Oh,
of the bridge.
nice. Yeah. And what about... have you had many, I should say, that have just been torn out? Like, councils just go, nope.
Yeah, for sure. Shortest lasting would be one that I did near Piermont, and it was, followed that Clayton Grawl. Do you know Clayton?
Yeah.
Had a bit of inspo from him to do like a pour at home quarter.
Oh, on the existing rock. Yeah. I
Yeah,
saw that one.
and then after that, I heard that people used to skate that just standalone as a spot in the 90s, would just skate that rock, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that one would have only lasted, I think, 4 days.
Yeah.
Just the area that it's in and such.
Yeah, sometimes it happens that way.
Yeah, and then that Philly up one that I said I met Seth at, that one had the funniest sabotage because there's a neighbour that lives right there that hates it, so there was just constant sabotage every build.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What kind of sabotage?
It started with like they'd go and like maybe get a stick and put it in some wet concrete as I walked away from it, because I'd wait with it for a pretty long time, but then because it was so close to home, I'd wander home and then come back and do another pass with the trowel. So I'd come back and it'd be a bit fucked up and I'd have to fix it. And then I think as the spot grew, it just kept escalating. Like there was one time they emptied 2 tubs of Quick Grip all over it, like the glue or whatever, that Sealy's product. But it came up perfect. We just let it dry and just peeled it up. And then there was another time they emptied rapid set high strength concrete, a few bags of Dingo, expensive stuff as well, straight onto it. But then again, just scraped straight up. They put nails in it.
Nails?
They wiped their own dog shit on it. Saw that.
Oh, yeah.
And then eventually I was like, all right. So I hid a little GoPro camera nearby and set a time lapse. And because we had no idea who was doing it.
Yeah.
At this point, they had already written my full name and address because they figured out who I was by following me home.
Oh.
And they'd written my full name and address in spray paint all over the spot and on the ground and stuff. And so this GoPro captures them walking past, holding their dog in one arm, and they've got 3 old empty wine bottles from home, and they're just breaking them on the spot. Oh. And I was like, okay, so I know who it is now. I still see him around.
Yeah. They love skateboarding, obviously.
Yeah, community pillar.
Yeah. I think that's the thing about DIY, though. It can be something so simple. Like, how many roads have a jersey barrier at the end of them because they're now closed access? Like,
did you ever see that one in Melbourne called Victoria's Secrets? It was a COVID spot.
Yes, yeah.
That was so simple, but so good. All it took was curbs, and they just concreted a little triangle into some of the curbs in select spots to make like channels and roll-ons and stuff. That's all you need.
Simplicity of it. Yeah, and that comes down to so when you go to a potential spot or you stumble across a slab of concrete or something like that, and then your imagination just starts going like that imagination kind of. Have you ever sat down and actually paper planned stuff out, or you just get an idea in your head and sort of visualize it standing there?
Both. And then also the whole thing with DIY, the real beauty of it comes in when you've got a bit of a pre-plan and then the adjustments that you make along the way that you see are necessary. That's where the magic comes.
Yeah, I get that.
That's where you find the one in a world, like the only one that exists, super unique, and it works so good.
That's the big difference between DIY and skate parks, is that they are not perfect.
Yeah, that's where there's still some of that magic in the 90s park when it was a bit more lawless, you know?
Yeah.
Because they had the ability to maybe make a little change without any sort of repercussion.
That's it. So many skate parks now following a sort of cookie cutter standard. You know, you've got your 3 foot quarter with a certain radius, and you know, you might be lucky enough for that to come to a hip, and you got your standard height ledges, and you know, your standard 400 high or 450 high flat bar, and
that's it. Like they've perfected the technology, and well, they've definitely increased it in building parks. They've refined it so much, and you can see what they can achieve. But yeah, especially in Australia, we're definitely plagued by some certain big players that tend to, despite the amount of resources they have, rely on a catalogue of pre-existing obstacles.
Yeah, absolutely.
And shopping those out, and then maybe a little bit too much community liaison, or not being able to decipher who's liaising at these community meetings.
I do think that's a very valid point, because it comes down to, a lot of the time, these community meetings where it's to decide on something that's going to be around for 15 to 20 years. The people having their say there aren't going to be involved in whatever their activity is.
That's a good point.
You know, they got, like, if they're riding a scooter, the likelihood of them still riding a scooter when they're an adult.
Or even like the thought of people currently in their, say, prime for enjoying it, it's almost not for them, you know, because that's a short window at that point, and it's for that next generation. However that precedes itself, which I think can be interpreted, and a design can be developed more on concepts of working on what's currently available around certain areas, so you don't end up with adjacent suburbs with identical obstacles.
And it's so unfortunate when things like that happen. Like, it's almost, what's the point in traveling? You know, because there's no difference.
Exactly.
There's no...
That used to be why you'd go to a park, because it has, as much as it's got a nice variety, you want to flow around, it has maybe a handful of things that don't exist anywhere else.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's so important, I think. Now we're getting to the stage where people are realizing this, and within park design, you know, people know they've got to do something a bit different. And for myself speaking, like, when I saw the plans for Tilapia, the addition to Tilapia beside the bowl there, that street section.
Who designed that?
That was actually one of the big guys. Okay. So that was Convic that designed it, but I think it was a new guy.
It's not like that company can't design a good park. They've got some gems under their belt.
Oh, yeah, agreed.
But it's 2023, and everything has to be a gem, and not in the council award-winning aesthetic way, in the functionality way.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think for such a small area, that park at Tilapia just has so much fun stuff.
Works so good.
It's just, yeah. And it's a shame, you know? It's like they put everything experimental into that park. And now it's like, oh, well, yeah, back to the 3 foot.
Yeah.
Back to the 3 foot quarter. But I am happy to see things being built, like Miranda coming up. with some, like a classic kind of what feels or seems like a more natural plaza with planter box style ledges and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think the
It's quite
granite
simple.
is good. I don't know how we're going to go on future-proofing it. How we'll go, like with constant maintenance. Sydney Park's holding up pretty well. And if you look at city tiles, like actually in the CBD, they've held up, well for however many decades.
Yeah.
So hopefully on that, like in maintenance way, it lasts. But yeah, they feel great.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Paran's about to get that as well.
Where is?
Paran in Melbourne.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Which is, I think it does, that granite kind of top lends itself to being replaced easier than if you were just going to do a concrete.
That's true. So if your concrete blows out or wears down for whatever reason,
Yeah.
that's going to be harder to repair clean than pulling out.
Like, it is really hard to try and fix. I know from doing it at Mona Vale Skate Park, the curb there, that red concrete curb, once it gets chunks out of it, it's really hard to repair because it's, the wear and tear on it, whatever product you put in is eventually going to pull out. So
Yeah, right.
yeah,
Okay.
you're kind of better off just grinding it back a little. Which is,
I've talked to Dave before about the idea of like doing a whole epoxy knead it coping line, like so the whole surface that you're grinding is one continual bead of it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I actually, I like glebe. I like those steel curbs. I do wish that the top wasn't, or was wider on the top, so it'd be more consistent if you're doing something like a crooked grind, so that
That concrete feels so dry right next to that metal, hey? So for the crooks, it feels really grabby. Yeah, that makes sense, for sure.
Yeah,
and they
like
could go even a slightly sharper angle on those.
Yeah, I think so too. Like, it's a little too much round on it.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Yeah. But I think conceptually,
Steel curb, good idea.
Yeah.
If they're not too loud, fill it with concrete.
yeah, that's it. And that's the other thing with that is, like, they're not hollow.
Because that would sound horrible, I think.
Yeah, the opposite of the sound of a slappy that you want.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I mean, you're always going to want concrete at the end of the day because you want to feel that sound, you want to hear it.
Yeah.
But it is a good alternative in parks for future-proofing slappies, for sure.
I don't know. I've put so much wax on curbs that they're silent.
Yeah. Yeah, I skated the Greek before.
I wanted to talk to you as well about rainbow rails.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
It's pretty dormant currently.
Yeah, but you did some really cool stuff with steel. You can't call them flat bars because they're not, are they?
I made very few flat ones, I think.
Yeah. So how'd you get into that? What was the inspiration there?
It started, I think I just saw a video of someone skating a low roll-on rail. Like pretty low, lower than you'd see in a skate park. And I was like, well, that's something I don't have access to. And my brother knows how to weld. And I think we worked out that we could, so it was essentially just a little roll-on rail. And we figured out we could, if we sourced a pipe somewhere, I think we had something laying around, you could put a few pie cuts into the pipe and then bend it down. And then he has the basic little MIG welder I think he had at the time. He stitched it up for me, put some legs on it, and it was so fun. So I think the next week even, I went and bought myself a really cheap little, I think it was $100 little stick welder.
Okay.
And then just went from there. Just started finding street signs, finding whatever I could to put them together, and coming up with all these crazy designs. Because I realized it was much faster than doing concreting. Like, you don't have to wait on curing. You don't have to wait on gathering all these materials. As soon as you've put it together, you can take it out and skate it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of, it just kept drawing me in from that, and then realizing that no matter how weird of a design I thought of, it still kept seeming to work.
Yeah.
and then seemed to enjoy like refining it a bit and getting better at my welding, and then people started asking to buy them. And then that coincided right with COVID.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, well, I don't want to feel like a warmongerer, but people didn't have places to skate so much. They were refined to car parks, and it just went hand in hand.
Yeah, I think kind of COVID had a big impact on skateboarding in general. I know from talking to mates who are sales reps and stuff like that within skating, that it was literally like the month, like the kind of orders they were getting was like the month before Christmas every month.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people set their hopes real high after that, hey?
Yeah. And I can't remember when I had my hip surgery, but it was at the beginning of COVID. I had a little surgery on my hip, and that's when I started making wax, because I had a recovery period, which happened to coincide with COVID and Australian shops not being able to get stock fast enough.
Anything they could get their hands on. Hey?
Exactly. So I was really lucky that Ty Colling helped me out a lot, like, because
plus also I feel like slappy skating boomed then because people were refined to car parks more so the wax was just perfect timing.
That's it. And I was like, I can't believe how much of this I now have to make. I didn't have
the
the
same
molds.
thing as well with the rails. It was crazy. It starts as a hobby and turns into something like quasi full time.
I hired half a garage and had to turn it into a workshop. So I was in there like, oh, I fell over.
Yes.
I was in there 6-8 hours a day making or packaging wax, and Ty would go on the road visiting shops.
Do you have the inventory? Do you know how many blocks you made?
All up?
Yeah.
I could look it up in the invoices.
You should do that one time. It'd be interesting to know.
It was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
For such a short period of time anyway. I think it was like, a 4 to 6 week explosion where I was doing like hundreds of blocks of wax.
Wow.
Yeah. And I initially put in a sticker order, the sticker that comes with the wax. Mm-hmm. I initially put in a sticker order of, 200 stickers. And I think 2 weeks later, I was calling to order 500 more. Just going, or maybe I had 1,000 made. I can't remember.
I still dream of the kit that you were conceptualizing.
It could still happen.
Yeah. I feel like it would lead to so much more widespread liberation of curbs.
Yeah.
Making it accessible like that.
The one-stop curb kit.
That's it.
And won't say too much more about that.
Yeah.
Because,
copyright pending.
Yeah. Because I have noticed some companies doing their own rub bricks.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. So I'm like, maybe hold off on, more info on that one.
Yeah, exactly.
And how's stuff like getting support from companies and stuff like that treating you? You're getting boards, trucks, wheels. Basically, you want to do a shout out to anyone?
Smoke Beer and we work together on some boards. We've like designed a few shapes over the year here and there. Mm-hmm. There's a 10-inch popsicle out at the moment. That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Working on a few more things at the moment that I'm really excited about, new shapes. Cheats, Matthew Cheatham from Trapdoor Distribution.
Okay.
It's nice enough to send me some Ace trucks. And thanks Andrew Mapstone actually for sending me some vans the other day. That was really nice.
Yeah.
No like flow or anything, just like out the kindness of his heart.
Mappy's cool.
He's a good fella.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
My girlfriend for filming me sometimes on Instagram.
You know, that's it.
nice.
You got your own filmer.
Oh, well, yeah, we try to film each other.
Yeah, I actually like the clips. They're for lack of a better word, very cute. You know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it'll be Cam eating shit, and then Cam's girlfriend like on the roller skates, and it's like, yeah, back forth. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I reckon. Why don't we wrap it up there?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Thanks for coming, mate. And
Thanks for having me.
maybe we'll do a on your next DIY.
Yeah.
We'll do a follow up.
Okay.
Yeah. Or maybe, how about this? We do if you want to make a curb or something like that, do a step by step.
Yeah. Or like we could do like a curb maintenance thing would be cool.
Oh, I
and
like
we'll go
that.
through start to finish. We'll fix a few big like expansion cracks.
Yep. Because people think you just rock up and put wax on a curb and it's good to go.
Andreas thinks you just rock up and it's ready every time.
Andreas, oh, this is not waxed yet?
Oh, this is too waxed.
All right, mate. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. We'll catch you on the next episode. If you enjoyed this one, like and subscribe. Click those buttons. And yeah, thanks again, Cam Markin.